As much as everyone loves Lego, there are things that people absolutely hate about it. And this video is literally gonna be 43 minutes of straight Lego hate. So let's start with one of the biggest controversies in Lego history. In early 2004, Lego replaced their old gray and brown colors with bluish gray variants that fans nicknamed Blay. This absolutely devastated the Icons theme and adult builders who had been collecting for years, because now their pieces didn't match the ones they'd had for so long. The backlash was so bad that Lego's community manager Jack McKee posted a public apology on Lugnet in May of 2004. He admitted they hoped the change would go fairly unnoticed, which shows they knew it would be controversial. But at least the Blay color change affected every piece, because the Harry Potter theme has a material problem that's way more specific. Certain minifigures use hair pieces molded from soft, rubbery plastic instead of normal ABS, and Cho Chang is one of the best examples. The material looks dull and feels completely out of place next to regular Lego pieces. Jay's Bricklog even called them god-awful in his Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts CMF review. So that's how you know it's bad. But speaking of wrong-looking minifigures, Star Wars had a design disaster back in 2012. When Lego started making sets based on the Clone Wars TV show, they wanted the minifigures to match the show's art style. So they gave certain characters these giant anime eyes, and literally nobody liked them. Padme in the Malevolence set was one of the first to get this treatment, and everyone hated it right out of the gate. There's even a site called Brickelo that has a community rating feature, and the data consistently places these big eye Clone Wars figures as the worst rated Star Wars minifigures ever made. I get why Lego did it, but one of the most controversial decisions they've ever made was launching the Friends mini doll in 2012. Instead of using regular minifigures for the theme, Lego made an entirely new type of figure, and the backlash was huge. There were entire petitions against it on a website called change.org. People wrote academic papers calling out the gender stereotyping, and there are debates between AFOLs that are still going on to this day. But they don't just look bad. Mini dolls are incompatible with regular minifigure accessories. They have completely different proportions, so they don't even work with regular Lego. But this figure somehow gets even worse in the Disney princess theme. These mini dolls have giant skirt pieces over their legs, which makes it impossible for them to move. At least the regular Friends figs can move their legs. I mean, this is just insane. But now, let me show you something that's been frustrating Marvel fans for years. Lego consistently makes Marvel minifigures without leg printing that clearly exists in what they're made after. Black Widow's suit has details on the legs in the movies, but Lego doesn't print them. Captain Marvel's costume has leg details, but again, Lego skips them. There are a bunch of minifigures where leg detail exists in the actual costume, but Lego leaves it blank to save money. But at least Marvel sets use actual minifigures, because the earliest DC superheroes wave from 2012 to 2013 had figures like Batman, Green Lantern, and the Joker instead of actual minifigures. Brickranker's article on the worst Lego sets ever calls them giant-sized monstrosities, and they're definitely right. Clearly, bigger isn't always better, and a theme with a similar problem is Jurassic World, which has some of the worst price per piece ratios in all of Lego. Why? Because some of the sets have these giant single molded dinosaur bodies instead of brick built ones. Brick Fanatics did some digging and found that every single Jurassic World set with these pieces has a worse price per piece ratio than ones without them. The T-Rex Dinosaur Breakout set is about 32 cents per piece, which is insanely high. The community is always debating on whether Lego made the right choice or not with these giant dinosaur bodies. But Jurassic World isn't even the only theme with this problem. The Dreams theme has the exact same issue. The mascot, Z-Blob, is a giant pre-molded rubbery blob and is in a ton of different sets. Like the Jurassic World dinosaur, this single molded piece makes the price of any set it's in way higher, takes away the fun of building with bricks, and has basically zero use outside of the Dreams theme. But this next theme has a different problem. The City 4 Plus sub-theme has been taking away everything that makes LEGO interesting. Instead of using normal bricks, these sets use big pieces that snap together with almost no actual building. Brick Fanatics always uses the term juniorize in negative reviews, calling out how these oversimplified builds hurt the City theme's reputation. And just like City, the classic theme has been taken over by the same juniorization problem. The modern classic 4 Plus line fills sets with big eyepieces, giant single molded cars, and insanely simplified builds, which is the complete opposite of what classic is supposed to be about. Obviously, 4-year-olds need their LEGO sets to be way more simple than what adults build. But people think LEGO should have just made them their own theme instead of throwing the sets into City and Classic. It completely defeats the purpose of the next theme, Duplo, because if this theme exists, then why do these other themes need sets for 4-year-olds in the first place? This is probably the nerdiest complaint in this video, but the truth is, people don't have any real problems with City or Classic, so this is the biggest one. But one of the worst problems people have with certain themes is how some of them need technology just to be able to work. The entire Super Mario theme is built around interactive electronic figures that react to different things using Bluetooth and an app. Mario, Luigi, and Peach all need this app to function properly. Without it, they're just expensive decorations. LEGO eventually made paper instructions because of how mad everyone was, but the figures still need firmware updates, which you can only get from the app. The community's biggest fear is that when LEGO discontinues the app in 10 or 15 years, all of this expensive stuff will be worthless. This has happened to so many different themes in the past, so nothing's stopping it from happening to Mario too. But even a classic theme like Technic has the exact same problem now. In 2020, LEGO killed the beloved power function system and replaced it with Control Plus / Powered Up, which only works with an app. Power functions was simple. Plug a motor in, flick a switch, and it works. No app, no phone, no Bluetooth connection required. But Control Plus needs all of these things. Flagship sets like the Liber LR 13000 are fully dependent on this app, which means when LEGO eventually takes it off the App Store, these expensive sets won't work anymore. But at least those apps were made by actual people. In 2024, LEGO was caught using AI-generated images for an official Ninjago quiz on their website. The community immediately noticed something was wrong. Distorted minifigure hands, wrong character colors, lore inaccuracies that no actual Ninjago fan would get wrong, and the most obvious thing, the art style. The worst part though is that LEGO using AI is super hypocritical. They market themselves as a creativity brand. Their whole thing is to encourage imagination and creation, but then they use AI to cut corners on one of the most popular themes of this generation. But now, let me tell you about an update to a theme that made every new set incompatible with its old ones. In 2020, Speed Champions cars jumped from 6 wide to 8 wide, which broke backwards compatibility with every single set before that year. Cars from different eras don't look normal next to each other anymore, and they don't fit on LEGO City roads or road plates either. The community split hard on this. Some people were happy about the change, while others hated the fact that their collection didn't match anymore. But speaking of scale problems, the Green Hill Zone set from the Sonic theme is super hated for being the wrong scale. The Sonic minifigure is too big to fit naturally with other minifigures, or anything outside of the Sonic theme. If you put him anywhere else, he just doesn't look right. The community also hates that the Sonic theme barely gets any sets to begin with, but what they might not realize is that the theme just got retired this year, which will definitely end up being their biggest problem. But at least the Sonic theme had some diversity, because Brickheadz uses the same formula for every single set. After building a few, it gets super repetitive, and every character looks exactly the same. This is one of those themes that you either love or hate because of how repetitive it is. But to be honest, most people hate it. Repetition is also the main complaint with the Architecture Skylines sub-theme. Skylines launched in 2016 and replaced big detailed sets with tiny ones. The original architecture theme had super detailed builds, like the Guggenheim and Falling Water sets, which required real building techniques. But skylines are basically just small versions of the same thing over and over. Honestly, I like a lot of the skyline sets, but I can see why people are so mad. I mean, they replaced some really cool sets. But if you want the most mind-numbing, repetitive building experience, LEGO art sets are basically just display pieces built with thousands of 1x1 tiles. So they're literally perfect for this. Brickheadz launch article points out the bad price per piece ratio, saying given the sets are almost exclusively 1x1 round tiles, the PPP is actually quite high. But BrickNerd points out the biggest problem, that the original art sets were purely mosaic depictions, with almost no real building. And that's definitely the biggest issue. But now, let's talk about one of the worst reviewed LEGO sets ever, which is in the Ideas theme. The winning set for the We Love Sports Ideas contest was supposed to be a full-size 11-on-11 foosball table. But the official set that LEGO released was scaled down to a tiny 5-on-5 table instead, which is less than half the original size. Why? Because LEGO couldn't make long, durable axle rods for the full-size version. At launch, it had 5 1-star reviews out of 9 total reviews on LEGO.com, and Brick Fanatics made a dedicated article asking if table football was one of the worst idea sets ever made. People were so mad that LEGO promised one thing, couldn't deliver it, and then charged $250 for the downgraded version. But speaking of broken promises, Creator 3-in-1 sets are supposed to give you 3 great builds, but the second and third builds are almost always way worse than the main one. Rebrickable's review of the pirate ship set calls the alternates not really bad, but just not good enough compared to the ship. And Brothers Brick's T-Rex review points out that the Triceratops alternate has gigantic legs, saying those giant rear limbs do support the Triceratops standing up on its hind legs and shaking it like it's 1999. This is the most consistent documented problem across the entire theme. You buy the set for 3 builds, but you really only get 1 good one. But one thing fans can't get over in the Botanicals theme is that most of the sets don't come with vases. Almost every flower set, like the flower bouquet, the wildflower bouquet, and the dried flower centerpiece, is made to be displayed in a vase, but there's no vase included in any of them. Multiple Brickset and Brothers Brick reviews call this out directly. The wildflower bouquet has comments like, "I do wish it had a vase included. My current one is getting full." And again, stuff the flowers. I need that vase. So clearly, people really need more of these. But at least you can buy Botanical sets whenever you want. The Bricklink designer program theme asks fans to pre-fund sets with crowdfunding. This means popular fan-designed sets need money up front months before they're done, sell out before most people can buy one, and then have insane resale prices once they're gone. The theme was made to give fan-made sets a chance outside of the Ideas theme, but it turned into a scalper's dream, which is never a good sign. And speaking of availability problems, the Monkey Kid theme has had this exact issue specifically in the US since 2020. A bunch of sets are only available in China, and prices are super high on the aftermarket. So American fans who want sets usually completely miss out. The sets themselves are actually really well made and get good reviews all the time, but the way LEGO releases them makes them almost impossible to get in America. This is one of the only themes in modern day LEGO with this problem, and honestly, it's one of the easiest ones to fix if LEGO just listens to the people. But if you think not being able to find sets is bad, imagine finally getting one and not being able to take it apart. Back in 1988, LEGO released the Technic test car, which was supposed to be this cool supercar build. But here's the problem. It used interference fit black pins that were so tight that once you built the set, you physically couldn't take it apart. Your fingers would hurt trying to pull pieces apart, and most people just gave up. The whole point of LEGO is that you can build, take apart, and rebuild things however you want. But this set becomes permanent after one build, which completely misses what makes LEGO special in the first place. But at least the test car stayed together. The Technic Sahara Blaster from 2001 had a flex system steering mechanism that broke constantly and couldn't actually steer properly. So you'd try to drive it and the steering would just snap. And if you added a 9-volt motor to it, which LEGO sold separately for these sets, it became incredibly easy to crash because the steering didn't work. The B model was awful too, so there wasn't even a backup build to save the set. You were just stuck with a car that couldn't turn. Speaking of Technic disasters, the Stunt bike scored a 3 out of 10 on the LEGO car blog, which is the lowest review score in their entire library, and they've reviewed hundreds of sets over the years. This is a pullback motorbike that comes with a cardboard ramp. That's the whole set. No functions, no mechanisms, just a pullback bike and cardboard. They called it the worst motorcycle ever conceived, and honestly, I can see why. Imagine building a Technic set expecting cool gears and moving parts, and instead you get something that belongs in a $5 impulse set. Now, Technic sets are supposed to have functions and mechanisms, but sometimes LEGO tries to make buildable figures instead. The Technic C-3PO from 2001 is a perfect example of how badly this can go. First of all, they based this on the version of him from The Phantom Menace, where Anakin hasn't actually finished building him yet, but it gets worse. The whole thing is shaky, the knees don't bend, and the limbs fall off easily. And when they do fall off, they're really hard to reattach. But to top it all off, there's a button that's supposed to blow him up as a play feature, but it doesn't even work properly. But if you think C-3PO is bad, the Technic Humongosaur from the Ben 10 theme is universally considered one of the ugliest LEGO sets ever made. It's been described as hideous, unsatisfying, and terrible by basically everyone who's reviewed it. The best compliment anyone could give this set was that it has unique brown pieces. That's it. When the only positive thing people can say is that some pieces are a rare color, you've created something truly awful. And speaking of Ben 10, that entire Alien Force theme was a disaster too. In 2010, LEGO made a deal with Cartoon Network to make 6 sets based on the show. All 6 of them had under 25 pieces each, which is incredibly small. So it's no wonder the entire theme was introduced and discontinued in the same year. LEGO thought they could capitalize on a popular cartoon, and it bombed so hard that they pulled the plug in less than 12 months. But at least Ben 10 was a small theme that failed quietly, because LEGO Dimensions was the exact opposite. This theme was supposed to be LEGO's big entry into the toys to life market. They partnered with Warner Bros. And TT Games in 2015, and it was this expensive concept where you had to buy physical LEGO sets to unlock content in a game. LEGO thought this would be massive, but it completely failed. The whole thing was canceled in October 2017, which means it only lasted 2 years. Some of the exclusive minifigures are even valuable now, but only because the theme failed so badly that not that many people bought them in the first place. Keeping the fail train going, the LEGO Masters Building Academy ran from 2011 to 2013 as a replacement for Brickmaster magazine. But here's the thing, it was more expensive and less popular than the thing it was replacing. It was supposed to be a USA test market before going worldwide, but instead it just died after 2 years. When your replacement product is worse and more expensive than what you're replacing, people just won't subscribe, which you should do the opposite of. Now let's talk about some color disasters, starting with the original MTT in LEGO Star Wars from 2000. This set cost $40 and came with 470 pieces and 7 minifigures, which sounds pretty good on paper. But when you look at the actual build, it's a mix of tan, gray, black, and green. Yes, green on an MTT. This thing is completely brown in the movies, but LEGO decided to throw green in there for absolutely no reason. It's eye-catching for all the wrong reasons. Even if you've never seen Star Wars, you look at this thing and immediately know something's off. But at least the MTT was a cheap set from the early 2000s, because Kylo Ren's command shuttle released in 2015, and every color is the wrong color. In the movies, the shuttle is black, but LEGO made it dark gray, and the wings don't fold out like they're supposed to either. For a company whose motto is only the best is good enough, this set has some major inaccuracies that should have never made it past the design phase. How do you mess up the color on a $110 set? But speaking of wrong designs, the Spider Trike from the Spider Trike vs. Electro set might be the dorkiest vehicle LEGO's ever made. This thing looks like a farm tractor, not something Spider-Man would drive. It's flimsy, heavy, it's fragile, and Spider-Man literally falls out of it because there's no plate to hold him in place. And there are these weird broken sticks on the back that don't serve any purpose. You look at this and wonder how it ever made it through any design meetings. I mean, it really just doesn't make sense. Clearly, LEGO makes some sets that are completely out of place, and the giant Batman from 2003 is another one. It's this bizarre, oversized action figure style Batman that doesn't fit with anything else in the LEGO universe. It has weird parts that can't be reused for other builds, and it has one of the highest price per piece ratios in the entire DC theme. Luckily, the price isn't that high, it just has a bad ratio, but you gotta admit, it's pretty funny how bad it is. But at least Giant Batman is supposed to be a display piece. The Yoda set from 2019 cost $100 for 1,771 pieces, and is frustrating in every way possible. All the pieces are basically the same color, so building it is a nightmare because you can't tell what goes where. And once you finally finish, the whole thing is hollow inside, so it falls over constantly. It's asymmetrical except for the ears and eyes, and the small head is somehow more complex to build than the rest of the entire body. It's just a terrible building experience from start to finish. And speaking of terrible building experiences, Captain America's shield costed $90 for 420 pieces, and the build is mind-numbingly repetitive. You have to build the same round frame section 17 times. Then you build the front sections 36 times. It's the same thing over and over and over. LEGO couldn't even sell this set when they offered a $40 coupon, which is almost half off. When you're practically giving sets away and people still aren't buying them, something is seriously wrong. But if you want to see LEGO's most expensive disaster, the table football set is it. This came out through the Ideas theme in 2022 for $250. Now, the original fan design that got voted in was a full 11-a-side foosball table, but LEGO downgraded it to a tiny 5-a-side version and kept the price the same. You can buy an actual real full-size foosball table for that much money, and this LEGO version, the rods break easily and the playability is terrible. It has a 2-star rating on lego.com with only 9 reviews. People bought it, tried to use it once, and immediately knew they'd been ripped off. And speaking of feeling ripped off, the ATST has a 2-star rating with 45 reviews on lego.com. Most of the complaints are about the price versus what you actually get. People feel like they're paying way too much for way too little, which is a terrible feeling to have after buying a LEGO set. You should be excited to build, not angry that you wasted your money. But the racing yacht from 2024 had the same problem. It costed $120, and according to Brick Brothers, so much is relegated to a large sponsor-heavy sale, it felt flat. The set has a single simple Technic function, which is pathetic for that price point. The sail dominates the entire build in the most boring way possible, and people felt like they got scammed. When a Technic set's main feature is just a giant stickered sail, you know the design went wrong somewhere. But sometimes, sets fail for reasons that have nothing to do with the actual build. The BTS Dynamite set was released at the absolute worst time possible. Right after it came out, all the members of BTS enlisted for the military in South Korea. This meant they couldn't promote the set at all. There was no hype, no marketing campaigns, nothing. The timing completely killed this set before it even had a chance to succeed. But now, let's talk about sets specifically from LEGO Ideas, because the Adventure Time set from 2017 is considered the worst Ideas set ever made. According to Brick Ranker, it sits way below the rest in terms of quality and originality. It's a basic build that looks like it belongs in a junior line, not on the Ideas platform. Ideas sets are supposed to be creative and unique builds that push boundaries, but this feels like something you'd find on a $20 Impulse set. It's a complete waste of the Ideas platform. But by far the most disappointing set ever is the LEGO Star Wars Emperor's Arrival set. The box says you can recreate Luke's final battle with Vader, but what you actually get is a 4-step hallway. That's the entire set. No duel, no action, just a hallway. You walk down 4 steps and you're done. It's a complete bait and switch. But now let's switch gears and talk about the creepy sets, because there are quite a few. Aragog in the Dark Forest is the lowest rated Harry Potter set LEGO's ever made. The spider is super blocky and has these cursed eyes that stare directly into your soul. The trap has no entrance or exit, which makes no sense, and instead of molded pieces for baby spiders, LEGO just used stickered 1x1 tiles instead. People were so creeped out by this set that they said they wanted to spray it with bug spray. When your LEGO set makes people want to kill it with Raid, that's how you know you failed. But if you think this thing is creepy, Clara Cow's ice cream shop from the Fabuland theme takes it to another level. Clara Cow runs an ice cream shop, which seems innocent enough, but then you think about it. Where does she get the milk? You almost think she's using her own milk to make ice cream, which makes this set very inappropriate. Now, obviously, this isn't confirmed or anything, but it really doesn't take that much thinking to get to this conclusion. A kid could definitely do it. But while we're on weird stuff like this, the My Dad Christian figure from the Scala line turned into a meme for being the creepiest of them all. This is an adult male Scala doll that just looks wrong. There's something deeply unsettling about it, and it's been talked about in multiple articles about the creepiest LEGO sets ever made, and usually it's pretty close to the top. But the Summer Clown from 2009 has the same problem. According to people who've seen it in person, it looks so much worse in real life than in illustrated form. The box art makes it look somewhat normal, but when you actually build it and put it on your shelf, it's nightmare fuel. And speaking of nightmare fuel, the Rocket Raccoon set apparently traumatized a reviewer's daughter so badly that she had to leave the Smith's Toys LEGO aisle completely. She couldn't even be in the same area as the set. I mean, how bad does it have to be if it's literally scarring the target audience? But it's not just the sets themselves that can be bad. Sometimes it's how they're packaged. The Marvel Studios collectible minifigures in 2024 were the first series packaged in boxes instead of bags, and this caused absolute chaos in stores. Open packages were lying around everywhere because people were using scales to weigh the boxes and figure out which minifigure was inside. This is absurd and frowned upon in the trading card community, but LEGO decided to do it anyway. They made a system that actively encouraged people to open packages in stores, which ruined the experience for everyone. And speaking of disappointing packaging, the Chewbacca plush has a 2-star rating for one simple reason. The way it's packaged makes the fur matted immediately after opening the box. You order a plush expecting it to be fluffy like a normal stuffed animal, and instead it arrives looking like it went through a washing machine. It's not fluffy at all, which completely defeats the purpose of having a plush in the first place. But the most insulting product of all time might be the battery box, which has a 2-star rating, even though it's only one single piece. 3 out of 4 reviews are negative because people are paying a premium for literally one battery box. They want more controls, they hate the powered up compatibility, and they think it's way too expensive. When your product is a single piece and people are still giving it 2 stars, you've fundamentally misunderstood what customers want. But as bad as a one-piece LEGO set is, at least you know what you're getting, because sometimes LEGO can't even get their instructions right. Imagine it's 2007 and you're building the Imperial landing craft set from LEGO Star Wars. You're just following along with the instructions, then you get to step 27 on page 20, and there's just nothing. Like, the step number is there, the parts box is there, but it's completely empty. It's like LEGO just forgot to finish designing the page. And the weirdest part is that this made it all the way to the final printed manual, and it never got revised online. Usually when LEGO messes up, they'll fix the mistake in the online version, but this one is still there. But at least that empty step doesn't completely mess up your build, because the mistake in the Willy Wonka's set instructions is 10 times worse. You're building the chocolate riverboat, and in step 394, the white stern of the boat is clearly visible on the back. But then you look at step 395 and it's just gone. It literally vanishes into thin air. Then in step 396, it magically reappears like nothing ever happened. The design team acknowledged this was an error after people started freaking out online. But imagine building this set without knowing about it. Something just like this happened to me when I was building the Windmill Village Hut set from One Piece. And I flipped the pages back and forth like 5 times before I realized that Lego messed up. Not me. But even if the instructions are 100% right, you can still get rage baited, especially if you build the Coliseum set. The entire set is basically one section that you build 40 times. You make one arch with all of the columns and details, and then you do it again and again and again and again until you've gone completely insane and made an entire circle. But here's the best part. The last instruction booklet opens with, "Congratulations, you're nearly there." They know this set is mind-numbing and repetitive, and they're congratulating you for not giving up, even though you probably did. The worst part, though, is that this happens with a lot more sets than just the Coliseum, because it happened with Captain America's shield, too. Obviously, after the Coliseum, Lego learned that people will deal with repetitive builds if the final result looks cool. So they made the Captain America shield set, and this one has you repeating sections either 36 or 18 times, depending on which part you're building. But pretty much everything in the beginning is 36. It's on page 17, page 18, page 20, page 22. I mean, I could go on. Obviously, the end result is pretty cool, but I think if the 16th page of a set I'm building looked like this, I'd want to give up immediately. Like, this is genuinely insane. But if you think 36 repeated sections sounds bad, let me tell you about the World Map set. This set has over 11,695 pieces, and besides 4,292 of them, literally every single one is a 1x1 stud or tile. And the entire time you're building, all you're doing is putting these studs and tiles down, one at a time. The worst part, though, has to be the color code you're expected to use. Every stud or tile is numbered, and I know this square may seem like a lot, but it's only 16 by 16 studs. So you're only putting down 256 pieces here, which is a literal drop in the bucket for this set. If you notice, though, the background for the instructions is black, which isn't a problem for this set, but for other ones, it was one of the most annoying things ever. Lego stopped doing this after 2021, so the world map was one of the last sets to have this black background. But when I was looking for stuff for this video, I found out that the instructions for the UCS Batmobile from 2006 had a black background. I don't think I need to explain why this is a problem, but unfortunately, I couldn't find any pictures online of what the original booklet actually looked like. The one Lego has online now has a blue background, but to me, it's pretty obvious that it wasn't always like this. For one, there are really faded bat signals on some of the pages, which would show up a lot better on a black background. But then the steps themselves just look weird. Instructions this old are always going to be low quality, but this almost looks like a bad Photoshop job if you ask me. But now let's get into the stuff that takes forever to build, but in a different way than the Coliseum and Cap's shield. The roller coaster set from 2018 has one step where you connect 203 chain links together to make one gigantic chain. Again, it's not spread across multiple steps where you build sections and connect them later. It's just one step that says make a chain out of 203 pieces. These pieces are tiny and difficult to connect, and the worst part is that this chain is literally essential to the set. It's the track the roller coaster sits on, so without it, the set is basically pointless. Whenever you have to make a chain like this in any Lego set, it's always annoying. But the sand crawler from Lego Star Wars takes it to another level. Instead of being one long line, these pieces have to be fitted to the feet of the vehicle. At first, it doesn't seem that bad, since it's nowhere near as many pieces as the roller coaster, but you just haven't figured it out yet. You need to build 4 of these feet, which means you have to do the same thing 4 times over, and the instructions makes it feel even longer. They have you make these treads 38 pieces at a time, and you have to do it 8 times, which is a total of 304 chain pieces. It may not be all in one go, but it's more than the roller coaster by a lot. But then there's the ship in a bottle set, which has the most insane instruction step I've ever seen. Obviously, this set is based on a real ship in a bottle, but what the Lego version has that the real thing usually doesn't is water inside the bottle. They used a bunch of trans-clear blue studs to represent the water, and so far, nothing about this is rage bait at all, but you just haven't seen the instructions yet. Once you build the bottle the ship sits in, Lego tells you to just dump all 284 studs into the bottle. It's by far the easiest instruction in any Lego set ever made, but I just can't get over how ridiculous it is. But unfortunately, this is where things get genuinely bad. The Technic Ferrari Daytona SP3 is a $400 set, so you'd expect the instructions to be perfect, right? Well, they weren't, and it wasn't just one little mistake like the one in the Willy Wonka set. The paper manual had multiple critical errors, including reversed wave selectors, swapped check marks and X marks, gear positions that were physically impossible, and leftover pieces that were supposed to be on the set but weren't. Lego even sent the set out early to some people, and they were able to catch the mistakes, but this was the finished product, so everyone who bought the set got instructions that made it impossible to build. Lego updated the digital instructions with all the fixes, but if you bought the set at launch and only had the paper manual, you were screwed on a $400 purchase. And Technic sets are already complicated, so imagine getting instructions that are just straight up wrong. Something similar happened with the Jazz Club set, but it was such an easy thing to miss that Lego didn't catch it in time. As you follow the instructions, it tells you to keep using pieces from bag 12, but the thing is, bag 12 was completely empty. You check the bag, shake it out, look everywhere, and there's nothing left. So you're sitting there thinking Lego forgot to pack pieces into your set. People were contacting support, posting on forums, and trying anything to get replacement pieces. But it turns out that the instructions just left out the part where you're supposed to open bag 13. It's such a simple mistake, but it caused so much confusion. Because I don't know about you, but I've never even heard of this problem in another set. I can only imagine how confused I'd be if this happened to me. But here's one that genuinely makes no sense, and it's basically the origin story of this entire topic. A certain instruction manual showed a 3-stud long plate stretching across 4 studs, which is obviously physically impossible. This one has been viral for years and is the main one people use when they talk about mistakes in instructions, so there's no way I could have left it out. I mean, this step is the original rage bait. One thing I haven't covered yet though is when Lego tells you to use less pieces than you're supposed to. The Emperor Palpatine's shuttle set has a step where the parts box shows 1 red lightsaber blade and 1 hilt, but the image shows 2 blades and 2 hilts being used. So which is it? Do you need 1 or 2? There's literally no way to figure it out besides building the rest of the set and hoping you were right, because Lego didn't even fix the typo in the online version like they usually do. And the same thing happened with the Cozy House set from 2023. On page 89, the instructions show pieces being removed between steps 2 and 3, and then those same pieces being back on in step 4. The steps were clearly printed in the wrong order, so if you follow the instructions exactly like you're supposed to, you'll take pieces off just to put them right back on. But this next one isn't a mistake like everything else in this video. It's grade A rage bait because it actually works. The UCS AT-AT set has Technic axles positioned so they physically can't be removed unless you use tools or destroy the entire build, and it's 100% intentional. Once you build this AT-AT, it's permanent. You can't take it apart to store it, you can't rebuild it into something else, you can't disassemble it at all. The AT-AT is one of many non-Technic sets that use Technic pieces, but designers know when certain things can't be done, so the fact that this happened anyway is genuinely upsetting. Shame on you, Lego. If I had tomatoes on me right now, I'd be throwing them. Moving on to something more funny, let's talk about all of our arch enemies, stickers. They're the bane of our existence as Lego builders, and some sets have a million of them. But the sticker situation in the NASA Space Shuttle Discovery set in particular is unbelievable. The set has 24 stickers that go on the inside of the ship. Now, that already sounds terrible, but it gets worse, because you have to put these things on the inside of curved pieces, which if you've never had to do, by the way, thank the Lego gods, because it's rough. Don't worry though, it keeps getting worse. Because 24 stickers on the inside of curved pieces wasn't enough, these stickers make up the entire interior of the shuttle. Every single one is this shiny silver color, so if you mess up even one of them just a little bit, the aesthetics of the inside of the ship will be completely thrown off. But I can't talk about stickers without talking about the Speed Champions theme. I just recently bought the set of Suki's S2K from Too Fast, Too Furious, because let's be honest, her car is sick. But this was my first time building a set from Speed Champions, and nothing could have prepared me for how many stickers I had to put on this car. The paint job is what makes this car so sick, but LEGO only made 2 printed pieces for it. The rest of them are all stickers, and just to prove it to you, I'm gonna count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There are 24 stickers on this set. But anyways, this next piece of rage bait is so insane that it's almost hard to believe. LEGO said a while ago that they slowly but surely wanted to phase out paper instructions and only have them available online. I think I can speak for all of us when I say this would suck. But LEGO said they're worried about how much paper they're using for all these booklets. And I was on their side until I found out what they do for sets made for 4-year-olds. The instruction booklets for these sets have 1 step per page. That's right, just 1 step. If this isn't wasting paper, then I don't know what is. Come on, LEGO, you can at least do 2 steps. But apparently, LEGO thinks we're dumber than we are, because they tell us something extremely obvious in that Palpatine's shuttle set from before. This set was made for kids ages 8 to 12, and maybe I'm crazy here, but I don't think kids this old need LEGO telling them to put their bricks on a table instead of, what is that, grass? A carpet? Whatever it is, a 12-year-old doesn't need LEGO to tell them to put their bricks on a table. Like, let's be for real. Anyways, let's move on from that so I can show you a time when LEGO was literally trolling in the typewriter instructions. According to people online who've built it, this set is by far one of the most difficult non-Technic sets to build. But the reason is because the functional parts of this set use Technic pieces to make it happen. So yeah, that's a thing. Obviously, this set is known for how functional it is, which means you have to build a lot of it using Technic pieces. So a lot of the steps in the instructions are sub-builds that make the set operate. When you build just one of these sub-builds, you end up with 9 of these things, which is annoying on its own. But just to rub it in, LEGO shows them jumbled up in a pile instead of laid out next to each other. But remember, I said this happens when you build just one of these sub-builds, and there are 3 in total. So LEGO shows you 9 Technic builds piled up 3 separate times. Maybe I'm going crazy for this one, but this just feels like rage bait at its finest. But if it didn't get you, this next one definitely will. The Minecraft Micro World Forest set has Herobrine lurking in the background of the first page in the instructions. If you don't know, Herobrine is a mythical Minecraft character that became a huge meme because he doesn't actually exist in the game. Mojang would even put removed Herobrine in patch notes as a joke, even though he was never real to begin with. So LEGO put him in the official instructions just to troll everyone. But this next thing was a mistake and a letdown at the same time. The Creel House in the Stranger Things theme just came out this year, and it came with minifigures of the entire main cast of Season 5. Some of these minifigures look super sick, but others ended up like Jonathan. Now, I'm not hating on his design. Making that guy into a minifigure would be pretty difficult. What I'm hating on here is the fact that his arms have no printing on them. Oh, and the reason I'm mad about this, by the way, is because he has prints on his arms in the instructions. So there's a version of him out there with this cool arm printing to make his jacket look normal. But instead, LEGO just used blank arms and didn't even fix the one in the instructions. But what do you hate the most about LEGO? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.